Hello everyone, my name is Shivani Tyagi, your philosophy and ethics teacher. So today we are going to complete yoga. So in the last class, I explained to you that what it is and why do we study it. So when we talk about yoga, it talks about chitti, vritti and nirodha, right? So chitti is basically mind, right? And vritti is basically movement. And nirodha is stopping, right? So when we talk about mind, in mind we are always thinking, right? As yoga also explains that it is not that while having purusha, while understanding purusha, we are going to have liberation. And this purusha doesn't say that we'll stop thinking about something. Our mind always thinks about something, even when we are doing samadhi, right? The highest form, the highest knowledge. It's not that while having samadhi we are basically concentrating at one thing, but it's not that we'll basically stop thinking about, right? We'll always be present with one thought. So when we talk about mind, it has vritti. Movements are always there, and these movements are basically all emotions that you are having, right? Whatever you are feeling, there are always vritti in our mind, right? And this nirodha, this is what we have to stop. And this stopping, this nirodha is going to lead us to purusha, right? Which is basically highest liberation, right? And this is what yoga talks about. Now let's understand one by one. First of all, let's understand chitta. So when we talk about chitta, it's like mind, like whatever is going in our mind. Especially linking it with today's problem, linking it with today's generation, we are always thinking about something. We are always pressurizing ourselves. This is why people get, depression, anxiety, right? So these philosophers gave solutions to us. Now explaining it mind to us. They were like, ancient psychologists who explained us that how we should form the theory, how we should analyze things, and how, like, what solution should be given, right? So they like gave solutions. All we have to do is understand it, implement it, analyze it, right? Now when we talk about chit, it means that mind stuff or field of consciousness, right? So whatever thoughts or feelings that are we are having, right, that happens, this vritti happens in our mind. Then think of it like a software of our personality, that these are basically running in our, this mental functioning is happening in our mind. So there are three parts of it. First is manas. So what manas does, manas basically collects information from the senses. If you can see me, so what your mind is doing, it can basically, it is collecting information that this is Shivani ma'am, right? You're going to have resemblances. Through manas only we get the basically another theories, right? So this is the first step. Through your senses you are gathering the information. The only thing manas do is collect the data. Next we have buddhi. So buddhi is intellect. It judges and decides, right? So you got to know that I am a girl and I teach philosophy. So this is like basically through your senses you got to know, because I told you and you saw me, right? So these are through your senses. But the buddhi, what buddhi will do, it will judge and decide that if you want to see my classes or not, if you want to skip some part or not. So this is buddhi. Your buddhi is basically doing intellectual part. Next, another third part is ahankara, the ego, right? So ego talks about I, about yourself. Whenever there is I, this is ahankara, right? So this, what this ahankara will say, that I will only learn from Shivani ma'am. So this is ahankara. Whenever there is a concept of I, me and mine, this is ahankara. So these are the three parts that chitta, this mind has, right? Now there is flow. First your manas will play important part. It will think, it will think with the senses. Then buddhi will decide that what with that information we have to do. Next we have ahankara, which is ego identification, right? So for example, if you are seeing flower, right, you are basically understanding that yes, this is the color of the flower. So that's through senses, through manas, right? Now after deciding it, that it's beautiful or not, right, this is done through buddhi, right? Then we talk about ahankara, right? There are people who don't like certain kinds of flowers, so that's ahankara, saying that I like roses or I don't like sunflowers, right? So that's ahankara to you. You are talking about your feelings, about yourself, right? Now these things work together inside chitta. They are connected with each other and they are required, they are basically connected with each other to find the solution, to find the information, to know the information, to know the knowledge, right? Now yoga control of chitta and vrittis. right? So whatever the fluctuations are going in your mind, these emotions, this attachment with the worldly, right, this basically these attachment towards the outer world, right, this is what yoga controls, right? And this is why, looking at today's world, we are so competitive with each other. We try to, suppress with each other because of this mind and vritti only, because of these steps only. We try to, have this feeling, this ahankara feeling, and this is what it try to manage, yoga try to manage it. Now when we talk about chitta, it is restless, mind is always disturbed, we are always thinking about something, right? And this is what yoga talks about, that our mind and body, our mind and body are never at same place, right? So if I'm teaching according to yoga, if I'm teaching here, then I might be thinking about something, right? I might be thinking about you, that how you are watching, right? If I'm speaking right or not. So all these things yoga talks about, that your mind and body are never present at the same time, right? And this is what yoga is. Yoga means uniting, right? Connecting it together. This is the duty of yoga, that you have to like connect it. And Nirodha is basically saying that you have to stop this fluctuation, these negative things that are going in your mind, right? So this is the work it has to do. Just when chitta is calm, then this purusha, true self, right? That true self will shine through, right? And that will bring peace and liberation in yourself. So through these steps only, through mind and vrittis, basically this fluctuation that we are having, if you try to manage it, if you try to control it, then only you'll be able to understand that what purusha is, what is liberation. Understood? Now when we talk about the three components of chitta, we have manas. Now let's understand this it more deeply. So when we talk about manas, it is like thinking minds which collects information, right, from these senses. These are the senses that we have, right? And it acts like a messenger. Now it acts like a messenger, to decide, to buddhi, that these are the information we have, right? So basically according to these information you have to take the decision, and now the decision is basically taken by buddhi. Now UPSC people can relate to it. When you try to like understand that what optional exam should I choose, so you see videos, you see syllabus, right? So that seeing syllabus is through these senses, right? You try to analyze it, you hear it from people, so that they understand that this is the syllabus of these particular exams, right? This is the syllabus of philosophy exam. And then after analyzing, after thinking about it, right, after thinking with the mind, you goes to the buddhi. You do that intellectual part, you think logically with reasoning, right? You analyze it more deeply, that's buddhi part, right? This judgment, analysis, and decide what to do, that if we should choose philosophy or we should not choose philosophy, right? Considering all the part that syllabus is short, that Shivani ma'am teaches well, or if all the examples, right, all the pointers, after considering all of this, right, you decide the ahankara that yes, I will take philosophy because I have understanding of these thinkers and I have understanding of these philosophies, so I can do it, I can score well in this examination, right? So that is ahankara. Sometimes ahankara is good and sometimes it is not, which is explained in the inner philosophy, and we'll be learning and reading more about it. Now these are the three steps that we have, and they all work together, right? And they collect, and buddhi decide, and then ahankara identifies that what is right or not, right? So if they are balanced, then peace and clarity. As I said, that ahankara can be wrong if these are not balanced together. So it is why it is very important that balance could be seen, right? So if ahankara dominates, then pride or anger could be seen. And this has been like said by many, that if you are basically, if you have so much knowledge, this is not only about materialistic world, this is about those intellectual people also who think that I have so much knowledge and I won't, talk to certain people because they don't have same intellectual level, right? So this is also ahankara, the ego, right? And this is where what we have to balance between ahankara, buddhi, and intellectual part, the ahankara, which is I, right? Now there are basically mental modification, chitta or vritti. Now we'll talk about vritti. So vritti means movement, change, or wave. So well, let's take example of lake. Lake is there, right, and wind is going. So because of this wind you cannot see clearly, there is like movement of water. You cannot see that bottom part of that river, right? But once that wind is settled, right, that water is settled, you can see that water clearly, the bottom very clearly, right? So this is why it is important that movement change, or the wave that was going, it should be stable to see the reality. Now the reality is purusha, right? The ultimate liberation, that is reality according to Indian philosophy, according to yoga. So our mind keeps moving with thoughts, emotions, and memories, just like waves in a lake, right? Because of that wind, it was like there were like waves, right? And we could not see the water clearly, right? So in the same way, there are thoughts and emotions. We are never stable with our emotions. We keeps on thinking, we keeps on judging ourselves, we keeps on comparing ourselves with others, right? And this is what it says, that there should be like stability between our emotions and our mind, right? Now when our mind is full of thoughts, we lose clarity and peace, right? So basically these clarity that we are having, they are not seen because of these instability in us. Now yoga helps calm these waves and brings focus. It is very important to understand that yoga is the solution. And when we talk about yoga, it is connected with Sankhya, right? So in Sankhya we have like theoretical part, and whatever has been like explained, everything, each and everything has been explained in the yoga. So yoga is like doing it practically, right? And Sankhya is basically explaining theoretically, right? So when we talk about it, it's like the mind, basically those thoughts are covered with clouds, right? And when they are clear, the sky, which is like mind, that is peaceful again, and we can see the mind more clearly, like we see the sky clearly. Now yoga basically matters because yoga chitti vritti, as I explained to you, yoga is the styling of, mental waves. We have to keep the stability, only then we'll able to have the purusha. And these waves when calm down, then they gives us peace, they gives us clarity, they gives us true knowledge, and then only we'll have the liberation, kevalya, that Indian philosophy is talking about, and which are explained in Jainism also, Buddhism also. But yes, Charvak theory is different, and in Sankhya also, right? So these things explains us that why we should have kevalya and how we should have. Now imagine you are going through something bad in your life. Now someone comes and tell you that I can relate to you. I know there is suffering. Someone analyze it. Someone basically says that I do understand your feelings. And then not only understand it, basically shows compassion. Basically do something about it. And yoga is the philosophy who not only says that there is suffering outside, there is suffering in everyone's mind. You basically, they also give the solution to it. And these are the solutions that we have. The Ashtanga, 8 limbs that will understand, right? So through these 8 limbs, it tells us that there is the solution, right? Now let's understand the types of chitta vrittis. So first is pramana. So pramana is life, right knowledge. It try to understand like based on reality. So pramana is basically right knowledge, and aprama is the wrong knowledge, the opposite of it. So it comes from perception, inference, and testimony. So these are the 3 sources of knowledge that yoga basically accepts, right? Then we have vipraya, that is wrong knowledge, opposite of this, which is false understanding or illusion, like understanding and assuming rope to be a snake. So this is false knowledge. Then we have vikalpa, imagination. We are always dreaming, right? Daydreaming, and whatever you get things in your mind and you imagine all those things, so that's vikalpa. Then we have nidra, sleep, in state of mental state, rest without conscious awareness. In sleep also our mind is always present, it gives rest but it's always present and awake, right? Next we have smriti, that is memory, these resemblances that you get if you are seeing something through pramana and viprana, right, and imagination. So basically there are resemblances in our mind, so that is called smriti, recollection of past experiences. So these are the 5 types of chitta vrittis we have. Then we have yoga chitta vritti nirodha, which I explained it to you in the starting only, that yoga is a control or calming of the movement. So chitta is mind, vritti is basically movement or waves, so these feelings that we have, and nirodha is basically controlling or stealing. Basically you have to bring the stability in these emotions, in these vrittis, right? And result of chitta vritti nirodha, mind becomes very peaceful and clear. You'll be able to think more wisely, you'll be able to decide more clearly. And with this, if you stop identifying with thoughts like I am sad, this I is the problem, this ahankara, this ego is the problem here. And if you'll have the control on this, then you'll have true self, which is purusha, and which will bring stability, free environment and happiness to your life. When we talk about causes of suffering, so there are different causes that are given to us. First is avidya, ignorance. We understand this outer world that we are having, this is the reality. But according to yoga, this materialistic world, this has been like explained in Indian philosophy by many philosophers, that this outer world that we are trying to see and trying to analyze as the reality is not true. It is basically the first step towards ignorance, and this ignorance leads us to further more wrong steps, and these are the wrong steps. So first step is ignorance, that you are thinking that this is the reality, this outer space that you are consuming is the reality. But according to yoga and another Indian philosophers, Sankhya says the same, Nyaya says the same, right? Vashishka says the same, that this outer world is the problem, right? This is the avidya, this ignorance, identifying yourself with this outer world. This is the ignorance, avidya. Then we have asmita, which is ego or false identity. You identify yourself with that outer being, right? So this is asmita. Then we have raga, attachment, too much attachment. Basically, you like that thing a lot. So this materialistic world that we are having, and this is not only materialistic world, this physical and emotional connection that we are having, liking someone, relationships with your parents, relationship with your friends and family. So this is raga, the attachment, right? This is also wrong according to yoga. Then dvesha, which is, it is like twin to raga but opposite. It is like hatred towards someone. You hate something so much, right? So even this is wrong according to yoga. So abhinivesha, which is fear of death or loss. And as one philosopher, I have discussed about this in the previous classes also. I made one video about that philosopher. So you'll be telling me who that philosopher is, which actually gave and said that death tells us, and basically it influences us working towards the society. So if you have this fear that I am going to die one day, this fear leads us towards the working, leads us towards to work more towards the society, right? So this is what abhinivesha is. So as you were asking, and I got lots of comments saying that how to compare Indian philosophy and Western philosophy, this is how you have to compare. So this abhinivesha word could be used while writing the philosopher, that philosopher which you'll be mentioning by the name, and I'll be basically waiting for the answer, because I know you can answer, because I made the very, like, I think I made 3 parts of it, right? So you have to make fear of death or loss. So if you have this fear of death, right, you'll be working towards more righteousness. So these are the causes of suffering. Then we have ignorance, ego, attachment, hatred, and fear of death. So this cycle keeps us trapped in pain. So the pain starts with ignorance and ends with that I'm going to die one day, and if I died, then I won't be able to have these things, and I'll be away from my family. So this emotional connection also, it has been mentioned, right? So basically the solution is that meditation that makes us aware of thoughts. It makes us aware that what is the reality. Once you are having meditation, you are meditating, right? You'll have lots and lots of thoughts. It will start with pain, it will start with suffering, and then at one moment you'll stop thinking about anything. So this detachment reduces like and dislikes, and wisdom, it helps us realize our true self. So these are the true 3 steps. First of all, meditation. You'll have lots and lots of thoughts, but then there will be detachment. There will be one point where you stop thinking about anything. Then we have third thing, that is wisdom. You'll basically have the knowledge that what is the reality, and with that wisdom, with that knowledge, with the true knowledge, you'll have Kevalya or Purusha, which is true self. Liberation will be seen there. So with this, I'll end the video and I'll come with another part. Thank you.